Good morning, my dear students of class 8A and 8B. The lesson which already I have introduced, rise of the British power in India, rise of the British power in Bengal, rise of British power in Bengal, chapter number 7. Okay, topic, rise of the British power in Bengal. Now I am going to analyze and teach certain points. Today I am going to teach you under the following points. Point number 1, conquest of Bengal. 2, Battle of Plassey. 3, conspiracy of the British. And 4, plotting of Mirzapur. 5, consequence of the battle. The first one, conquest of Bengal. You know, the British came to India as a trader, but for over a century the British East India Company remained mainly a trading company. But after the death of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb in the year 1707, the British gave a tough, the British conquered, the British decided to acquire their political power. How? Because of making plotting against the local Nawabs, local rulers and regional kingdoms. You know, the conquest of Bengal in the year 1757 gave the British a strong foothold in acquiring political power in India. But how was it possible? Now we are going to discuss the conquest of Bengal. In the 18th century, the British East India Company targeted the state Bengal, because Bengal during 18th century was a very fertile province and one of the most richest provinces of India. And peasants and farmers, they were prosperous, rich and happy. They paid huge taxes as revenues. But the British targeted Bengal, and at the time when Nawab Sirajuddaulah was there as a Nawab of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa, the British, under the Farman issued in favor of them by the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, utilized the Farman. What do you know about the Farman? What do you know about the Farman? What is Farman? What is Farman? What is Farman? Farman was a written document. Farman was a written, no objection certificate issued by the Mughal Emperor in the name of any king or in the name of any company, just like East India Company. The Mughal Emperor issued a Farman, means no objection certificate in the name of East India Company to trade in India without paying any taxes. That means free trade. They allowed them to enjoy free trade. That means without paying taxes and revenues. They allowed them to rule. Without paying taxes and revenues, they decided them to trade in Bengal, Bihar and Orissa and other parts of India. As a result of it, the British took its advantage from Bengal itself, but later on, the British East India Company was not allowed to continue free trade from Bengal. Why? Because of Nawab Sirajuddaulah. Nawab Sirajuddaulah refrained them from doing it. He also instructed the British East India Company to pay taxes like other traders. But the British East India Company showed that very Farman which was issued in favor of East India Company by the Mughal Emperor. It was due to that reason, relationship between Nawab Sirajuddaulah and British East India Company was strained. The time when the British East India Company was thinking as to how they will win over Nawab Sirajuddaulah and how they will establish their political supremacy over Bengal. Right that moment, one idea came to their mind. They decided to force the Nawab of Bengal to allow them to trade without paying taxes and revenues. How? By making a plotting against him. They started winning over the nobles, bureaucrats who were against Nawab Sirajuddaulah from the very beginning and started making pressure over the Nawab. The time when they started garrison, means Fort William, they started construction work over the Fort William. Nawab Sirajuddaulah as a Nawab of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha prevented them from doing it, but they did not care for the instruction of Nawab Sirajuddaulah and kept on constructing the wall of the Fort William. Sirajuddaulah grew offended, and then he took an expedition for Calcutta, and ultimately he reached there, and ultimately he destroyed the major portion of the fort, and the British officials who remained there, they were forced to leave the fort, and they reached other side of the Bhagirathi Ganga, and by way of it they saved their lives somehow. But Sirajuddaulah occupied Calcutta temporarily and signed a treaty. The name of the treaty was Alinagar Treaty with British East India Company, and British East India Company also gave their consent that they would never start any construction work without being consented by Nawab Sirajuddaulah. As a result of it, a peace treaty was signed between Nawab Sirajuddaulah and British East India Company. The name of the peace treaty was Alinagar, the Pact of Alinagar. Under that pact, it was decided that Sirajuddaulah also would not interfere the works of British East India Company, and British East India Company would continue their trade without paying taxes and revenues, provided they would have to accept the political supremacy of Nawab Sirajuddaulah. The British East India Company consented, and then there was no problem. There was relationship between the two sides, British East India Company and Nawab Sirajuddaulah, was strengthened, but ultimately that situation came because the British East India Company considered the attacking of Fort William was against their will happened, so they felt insulted for it. In the meantime, Robert Clive, who was the writer of Madras Presidency, was called to Kolkata. He came and joined the Kolkata Presidency, and on hearing that incident of destroying Fort William by Nawab Sirajuddaulah, he decided to take revenge against Nawab Sirajuddaulah by shifting him from power. And then they started plotting, the plotting work which was started from the very beginning. The plotting work which was started by other British officials from the very beginning, they started doing it and won over so many people, so many nobles, zamindars of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha in favor of them, because many of them, they were against Nawab Sirajuddaulah, and as a result of it, ultimately Mirzapur, the military commander of the force of Sirajuddaulah, he also joined hand with British East India Company. Ultimately, a war was taken place in the year 1757, the Battle of Plassey, my dear students. The Battle of Plassey was taken place in the year 1757, and Robert Clive, on behalf of British East India Company, led the battle as a leader. His bold leadership, his intelligence, his strategy gave a wonderful victory to the British East India Company and the weak leadership of Nawab Sirajuddaulah and conspiracy of Mirzafar, because Mirzafar was had been plotting against Nawab Sirajuddaulah from the very beginning, but at last Mirzafar stood like, along with 10,000 soldiers, 10 to 20,000 soldiers. He was standing just like, toys. He was standing just like toy, and ultimately there was no effect from the side of Mirzafar. They did not attack British East India Company. In spite of being instructed by Sirajuddaulah repeatedly, there was no attack on the part of Mirzafar, and hence Nawab Sirajuddaullah's force was defeated in the year 1757 during, afternoon. Another reason was there. If I continue teaching from the same part of the lesson, then it will take time. That's why I don't want to exaggerate my teaching. That's what the points I am going to teach you. The next battle, after the battle of conspiracy of the British conspired. The British forbade Nawab Sirajuddaulah to leave the tent of the battlefield in consultation with Mirzafar. So Mirzafar requested Nawab Sirajuddaulah to leave the tent of the battlefield. Sirajuddaulah was a very simple and weak-minded Nawab. That's why he believed Mirzafar. He had faith on Mirzafar, and then he left the battlefield. And as soon as he left the battlefield, the battle just favored East India Company, and ultimately they won the battle. And afterwards, consequence of the battle. What was about the consequence of the battle? The battle, Nawab Sirajuddaulah was defeated and British East India Company won the battle. And then, on behalf of British East India Company, Robert Clive declared Mirzafar as the Nawab of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. On being the Nawab of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha, Mirzafar realized that it was his great mistake he committed, and hence he was forced to pay 300 lakhs rupees to East India Company as war indemnity and compensation. Mirzafar was forced to pay 300 lakhs rupees as war indemnity and compensation, and afterwards the British made Mirzafar as a figurehead Nawab. There was no independence, there was no liberty. Mirzafar felt it, and ultimately the British East India Company established their political supremacy over Bengal. After a few months later, they were given the zamindari of 24 parganas, and then in various parts of India they started capturing, and they ultimately became kingmaker. And what happened to Nawab Mirzafar, later on we shall discuss about it. But the thing is that Mirzafar, before shifting from power, Mirzafar just tried to ignore certain things and instructions which were done by the British. But Mirzafar realized that under such pressure, it was not possible to him to work as Nawab of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. Because wherever Mirzafar was trying to take any independent decision, with the British East India Company, on behalf of British East India Company, Robert Clive obstructing the way, and other British also were obstructing the way to take independent decisions. That's why Mirzafar felt insulted. The British also realized it. So relationship between Mirzafar and British East India Company was strained, and British East India Company decided to shift Mirzafar from power, and instead of Mirzafar, they made his son-in-law Mir Qasim as the Nawab of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. The thing is that Mir Qasim from the very beginning was very conscious of his duties and responsibilities. Mir Qasim knew that after the death of Sirajuddaulah, British East India Company made his father-in-law as figurehead Nawab. So once again they would try to make him also a figurehead Nawab. That's why he was quite comfortable in handling the cases and very conscious and started making various types of plans against British East India Company so as to protect his kingdom from the British East India Company and provided his army. He made one powerful army and provided European training by some European military commanders, and ultimately the British became very much conscious of Mir Qasim. The English traders exploited the Indian artisans. The time when the British East India Company was given the zamindari of 24 Parganas, and the English traders exploited the Indian artisans and Indian traders for their commercial interests. The textile industry of India was destroyed because of the machine-made goods which were, imported from England and flooded the large market of India. Most of the people, most of the artisans, most of the craftsmen who were dependent on their handicraft industry, they all became jobless people because of British manufactured goods, and ultimately the British exploited Indian peasants and farmers, made Bengal economically weak. The resources of Bengal also were now at the disposal of the company. This helped them to win the Third Carnatic War. Battle of Plassey transformed a trading company into a political power. The Third Carnatic War, before the Third, in the First Carnatic War, British East India Company was defeated by the French forces. In the Second Carnatic War, they defeated the French forces under the leadership of Dupleix. The French forces were defeated by the British East India Company, and ultimately French East India Company called back Dupleix. He got back empty-handed to his own country, France, and later on in the Third Carnatic War, the Britishers became financially very strong because of the victory against Nawab Sirajuddaulah in the Battle of Plassey. So they became financially very much powerful, financially, politically, and socially. They all became very much powerful and decided to teach other regional powers a good lesson. And ultimately, before Third Carnatic War, they became fully prepared. They became fully prepared to face any type of obstacles, any type of opponents, and ultimately defeated them in the Third Carnatic War. What happened to the Third Carnatic War? Next day I shall teach you, my dear students. Up to this, today's teaching. Thank you.